get on with that great football team. Which is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay, NFL draft today, right? Well, I don't know what to expect, as nobody really does. Of course, I'm talking Steelers. I certainly hope they don't take a quarterback in the first round. Nothing against Shedeur Sanders. I just don't think he's that good. I just think that if his last name wasn't Sanders, he wouldn't be hyped up the way he is. He might. I mean, I think he's a fine third-round quarterback, maybe even low second, but not a first-round quarterback. Even Cam Ward, I don't think is that level of number one pick. Still, the Steelers, I hope they go D-line. That's where they have the best players available, and a plethora of to choose from. So if they can go D-line, unless somebody drops, it's like crazy drops to them. And I'm not talking Shedeur. I'm talking maybe Gentry. I'd even consider taking Hampton at running back out of North Carolina. Steelers need an RB. I'd love to see Gentry or Hampton. I doubt if they'll get them. The only thing, the Hampton, they say they compared to Le'Veon Bell. Now, Le'Veon was great in his time. I just don't know if that's the kind of back they need right now. They need someone that's going to hit the hole, and that's what I see when I look at the tape on Hampton. If he turns out to be Lev Bell in his prime, I would be thrilled, though. So let's look at it this way. Let's go with one of the three defensive tackles. Let's go with running back in the second round, unless Jalen Milroe's there. I mean, in the second round is only if they can trade up to get a second round pick, of course, because as you all know, DK Metcalf is our second rounder this year. We traded our second rounder, but I have a feeling that the Steelers are going to work a way to get into the second round. So that's why I said their second round pick. If not, third round. If Milroe's there, you have to take Milroe in the third round just for value and the fact that he might end up being your guy. Next year's quarterback round, they're talking about next year being the time to draft a QB. I don't see a lot of great QB, like super talented guys out there. I mean, they're even talking Arch Manning and stuff. The guy's never really played yet. It might be his lineage and everything, but a name's a name. That's the same as Shedeur Sanders. I mean, Arch Manning's getting all this hype because of the Manning name. He might be great. Sanders might be great, but they wouldn't be getting this kind of hype if it wasn't for their last name. Tyler Shuck. I like this kid. A little bit older, very mature. He's got kind of looks like Big Ben body-wise, maybe not as filled out. Sorry, I got a message there. Maybe not as filled out, but they say he's a little bit older, but he's married. He has 2 master's degrees. I mean, the guy's mature. He's been in the league in college football for 7 years. He was the backup to what's his name, Chargers quarterback. Oh, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank here, especially whenever I'm doing a little video here for you guys. Still, 7 years, but he's had 3 injuries, but they haven't been tissue injuries. They've been broken collarbones, broken scapula. You can contribute it all to bad luck. At least that's how I look at it. I mean, maybe he's put on some muscle since then, and he won't be, or maybe it was just purely been bad luck. It could have been bad luck. Broken bones to me aren't. I mean, they're severe injuries certainly, but the fact that you have a broken bone isn't like you have the tendency to have something that's chronic, like a chronic knee or joints or like these guys that let's say Corey Trice, for example. He's been blowing out knees left and right. If he was breaking the bone in his shin, you might think, well, bad luck. Whenever you continually break, your joints go out, your ACLs or tendons or whatever. You kind of have a different perspective. At least I do, because it's a contact sport. If you break a bone, you break a bone. He might have had a lousy offensive line or scheme. Sorry, excuse my getting blown up here on my phone. But there's Damian Martinez. I see a lot of people like Skidabo. I'm talking running back. Big kid. It kind of puts me in the mind of Merrill Hodge, to tell you the truth. I've seen a lot of comparisons to different players, but he reminds me of Hodge. I'd like to see them get Skidabo maybe in the 5th round. I mean, if he drops that far. There's a lot of good running backs here. I would like to see them get a kid like that who is all heart and plays hard up the middle. Henderson from Ohio State, if you can get him in the 3rd round, let's say get one of the 3 defensive linemen, 1st round. Perfect. If you can get up in the 2nd round and get Henderson at running back, nice. 3rd round, because he's a home run hitter. The guy's a home run hitter, and he can play all 3 downs. 3rd round, your choices are open. I mean, if Shuck's there, I'd go Shuck, but if Milroe's there, they'll probably take Milroe. 4th round, Skidabo, then I'd fill in some safeties and maybe some more either side of the line, the trenches. Unless, of course, they trade Pickens. If George Pickens gets traded, there's plenty of receivers to choose from. I might shuffle that up a little bit. Noel looks good. The kid from Iowa State. I mean, there's a lot of receivers they could pick up. But so let's transfer Skidabo for a wideout if they trade Pickens. I don't know, man. What's your idea of the draft? There's a lot of good choices on this one. It's not a very strong draft as far as blue chippers, but there are a lot of depth. There's a lot of depth, and there's a lot of good players that could fill out spots. And you never know when a guy might really play above his projection. I mean, look at T.J. Watt. If any team would have known that T.J. Watt would have become T.J. Watt, he wouldn't have lasted to number 30. Or Lamar from what the heck's his name? What is wrong with me? I want to say Lamar Woodley, and that's the Steelers linebacker. I'm talking about Lamar, quarterback, Ravens. I thought I was prepared for this video. Well, let's say Lamar. Number 32, Jalen Hurts, 2nd round. I mean, there's always Brock Purdy, of course. I mean, these are just Dak Prescott, 4th round. I mean, there are players that play above their projection, that develop. So I would love to see the Steelers get a defensive lineman. There's three guys that should be there when it's. Hopefully, one of the 3 is there for when they choose. Like to see him get in the 2nd round. My choice, if there's a impact RB, get that player. You need someone to run the ball. 3rd choice, QB. You need a QB. I mean, come on, we need a QB. Or if there's several of the QBs up there still, and a really top flight receiver, if we have traded Pickens, get the receiver. I mean, we're going to get somebody else other than just Mason Rudolph. Although, I like Mason with the goatee. I'm digging the goatee on Mason. He kind of reminds me of the Dark Mason or the Evil Mason. So let's shoot for the sky with QB, free agent QB. If we can get Milroe in the depends what part of the 2nd round. If we can get a late 2nd round pick, I'd take Milroe because I would assume that Henderson and some of the other impact players are gone. It depends how the draft falls. I mean, if Milrow's there in the third all day long, just throw that ticket up. Don't even hesitate. Shuck's going to be Shuck. You could win now with Shuck, I think, but Shuck will only last you. Well, he might be a 10-year guy. I don't know, but I mean, I'm not going to say longevity isn't the word. You know what you got with Shuck. You know what he is, and he's probably a quality quarterback. Jalen Milrow from Alabama has the arm and the tools, and he's raw. He's a raw prospect, but he has the tools to be a top 3 quarterback in the league. That's the only guy I see that in this year's draft that they should really covet to be their guy, their next Bradshaw, their next Ben. I mean, how much time was there between Bradshaw and Ben? I mean, and think of the guys we went through. Steve Bono, Ken Graham, Neil O'Donnell, Bubby Brister, Cordell Stewart, Cliff Stout. I mean, come on, there were so many guys. Tommy Maddox. There was just a lot of okay players, but there were no franchise quarterbacks, as they say these days. So between Bradshaw and Ben, there was a pretty long drought. I hope we don't have to wait that long again. Milrow in this draft, has the potential. He's like a raw Bradshaw. Remember how raw? Well, I'm not old enough to remember. I remember when he was drafted, but I wasn't an adult. I was a child, but I still have done research. And Bradshaw was a very raw product, all arm, all ability, threw the javelin in college. So he was a 2-sport quarterback, and he was set records. So that's an attest to his arm strength. Still, Bradshaw was raw. Ben came from a small school. He was just, he came from Miami of Ohio. And, he came in his rookie year because Maddox went down and won, 15 games or something. And, I mean, it was a fairy tale story. It was ridiculous. But they had a much better team then, right? They had a team that, Bettis was running the ball and the defense was stout. And, I mean, let's not forget that. But Bradshaw was a young player who needed a lot of guidance to become the player he was. And luckily, through the draft, they were able to put together the team of the century. Still, Milrow fits into that group. As far as talent, will he become one of those guys? Nobody ever knows that. I don't see any other quarterback becoming one of those guys. I see Shuck maybe being a Eli Manning, which won 2 Super Bowls with Manning, but he was not he didn't scare anybody with his arm or with his legs or anything. Solid guy though, winner. If we got the results from Shuck that Manning had, well, sure, it would have been. It's a great draft pick. But I want, I've heard this phrase over and over and over, watching content on the draft. I want a guy that puts the cape on. I want a superhuman athlete that's also a superhuman quarterback. I want Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. This is the kind of guy that I want to see as a Steeler quarterback. I don't want to see. The days of Joe Montana, they're gone. I don't even want to see Joe Burrow. To me, Joe Burrow's a heck of a quarterback, but I want something more than that. I mean, I don't want to see Kenny Pickett. I don't want to see. I mean, we have Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph is 3 or 4 tiers below Shuck, but I don't think that Mason Rudolph can win games for you too, just like Shuck. But if we happen to take Shuck in the fourth round, I'll be happy with that. But yeah, there's several good running backs I'd like to see. But Henderson's the guy that I'm hoping they target, and maybe Skidabo a few rounds later. Then that would be a fantastic running back room with Gainwell and Warren, and I mean it would be a strength. And I truly believe the offensive line this year is going to come together. Now, if you can get a big time guard to replace Isaac Seumalo, which I believe has another year in him, or maybe two, but he is starting to weaken a little bit, and he's not a weak link on that line. He's the veteran and he's a stud, but he's getting older. I mean, if you can find a guy to really make that line, unbelievable in the third round, I could see that. So there's a lot of moving parts in this draft, as is any, but there's no blue chippers, and there isn't a lot of guys that are going to be available for the Steelers to really, really hone in on, except for the D-line, maybe a running back. Then after that, it's going to depend how the draft drops. And I'm hoping, I don't say they should trade Pickens, but you have Metcalf. There's a lot of other players out there. Pickens is going to want paid next year. Pickens does bring headaches as far as with his personality. If you can get a second-round pick for Pickens, I mean, he costs us a second-round pick. I mean, the days of Chris Claypool for a second-round pick, what robbery was that? But if you can get a second-round pick for Pickens, I'd say do it, and then that opens up the draft to a lot of other possibilities. Just because Metcalf will pick up the slack. Hopefully Roman Wilson's there this year, and they can pick up a receiver. There's plenty of receivers that can be number twos, or maybe even 1As or 1Bs to Metcalf's 1A, of course. So, I mean, I've bored you with enough, and you probably know all of this if you've watched anything online about this draft, but I just thought I'd give you my opinion. I really believe that defensive linemen, if they get a second-round pick, whether it's through trade of Pickens or not, RB, third round, depending on who is available, depending on who's out there. But if Jalen Milroe's there, you just take Milroe in the third. Fourth, if you get rid of Pickens, that's when you take a wide receiver. If you have Pickens, if there's a top-flight offensive lineman, okay, maybe, but I like Skidabo. And then you just fill in the spots, best available athletes, best available players, safeties, corners, whatever. But if you can walk away with Henderson, Skidabo, and one of the three defensive linemen, and Milroe, I mean, and then next year you have all these compensation picks. You're set for a stellar draft next year. You could really have a core down right now. Get these guys ready to play next year. Bring in the hosses. I mean, they're saying next year's quarterback year. If that's how it plays out, do it this year. Build the nest, as I've heard also referred to. Build the nest and get the QB next year. But if you can, you're going to have to take a QB, I believe. If you have to wait to the 5th round, 6th round, I mean, there's guys out there. Riley from Notre Dame. What's his name? Damian Martinez or something like that? I mean, the guy's been around forever. He's a small, compact quarterback. I believe he's playing for Oregon this year. I'm not positive, or he did play for Oregon. But I was watching a mock draft that Tony Dungy was a part, and he loved this kid so much that he thought the Steelers should take him in the first round. Then all the other guys were like, "Oh, come on, coach, are you senile now?" He's not a first round talent, but he just loves this guy, and I trust Tony Dungy. They talk about Chuck Noll not having much of a coaching tree. They never mention Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy started out as a Steelers defensive back and became a coach, and fine coach in the league, fine gentleman. If Tony Dungy sees something in a quarterback, well, then I'm going to maybe look into this fella, and I think this kid should be available in the 5th. So, if they choose other guys ahead of him taking a QB, look into that kid. I can't remember, Damian something. I've seen comparisons all over the place, from Drew Brees to Tua to whatever. Everybody has a different opinion, but he's gritty, tough, hard-nosed. Maybe just what you need. Makes all the throws, but he's small. I think he's 5'11", 6 foot. Like Shedeur. Well, tell me what you think. I want to know what you guys think. So let me know. I'm going to post this on Facebook and YouTube, I think. Let me know. Okay. Over and out. Hope you like this format. Thanks a lot.